One Hey All, and we're going to continue today with part 5 of my collection showcase, looking at a number of Autobot and Decepticon leaders, a couple of Primus, and we will introduce a new third faction with the Predacons. That and much more in the latest GotBot True review. One Hey All, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course subscribe, and while you're at it, boom! That's right, baby. Please hit that notification bell. It helps me out so very much, and it lets you know when content of all sorts goes up on the channel. Everything from reviews to countdowns to stop motions to even the Thursday night live show. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, and the Autobot family. Have a look for me everywhere across social media. All those links are down in the description. Before we go into part 5 today, and we're working our way now up the main display, I wanted to mention two characters that I sort of missed mentioning in the last part. One of them I did note, the other I completely neglected. Those being Titans Return Brawn, who I did put a note in that review about, and the other is who he's holding, who was held at the time by Ironhide. That, of course, is Smashdown, the Battle Master Hammer. Big fan of him, actually. I didn't think I would be, but he is fun for such a little dude. Anyway, I've rambled on enough here. You know what it's time for. It's time for us to head over to the shelf and take a closer look at some of these guys. And now things are going to start to get a little bit funkier because as we move up, there's kind of a mishmash on some of these shelves, and you're going to see that this in particular shelf, which for the record is that shelf right there, this in particular shelf is quite a mishmash. By the way, earlier I mentioned the Decepticon Growl when we looked at the very first shelf. I forgot the name of the other guy. I have since found it. It is none other than Bomb Shock. So moving on here, we start this shelf off with Cogman way down on the far end. There's a little bot lad. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember his name at all. There's a little blaster there. I don't know who that's for or where it came from. There's a third-party Quintesson. I can't remember what it's called. Q something. I did review them, and they're tiny, but they kind of scale really nice. It's really, really well done. Someone asked me recently how it was compared to the Impossible toys. I would say exponentially better. Yes, it's smaller, but I would say exponentially better. The materials feel good. There's wire in his tentacles. I dig it, and it was affordable. We have my custom Violent Jiger, which was made out of a whole bunch of stuff, actually. The base is the Studio Series 31 Megatron, which here was a Toys R Us exclusive. I done some paint on that, and the head, what I did is I took the Megatron head and I flipped it back, so the entire head that you see there is actually built on the chin of the Megatron head. If I really, really wanted to, I could work to get this head off, put the Megatron head back down, and it would work just fine. This head is... it was hard to do. It's an amalgamation that includes a couple of extra heads from some throwaway characters, some Bondic, some wire, of course paint, some glue. There's a lot there, but it's pretty solid. If we move along, we have Rycon, not Recon, Rycon, like Icon, another bot that I don't know his name. We have High Jump, and whatever this was, it's a little KO of a Bumblebee that came with something I bought from Tortoise, and we're going to get to that in a little bit. As we move along here, we have Voyager Cyclonus. I don't mind that Cyclonus. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't mind it. We have one of the little plane lads. I'm not sure which one it is. It's one of the ones I think that goes with the base. It might be Night Flight. It might be Ground Shaker. I'm not sure now which one it is. The other one is over here, by the way. So one of them is, I think this is Ground Shaker. That might be Night Flight. We have a pair of Titans Return Sharkticons. I showed one earlier. That's it. I had a trio of those Sharkticons. I didn't have 12 or 15 or 20 of them. I had 3. That's all you need. A custom Nova Prime, which a lot of people now have seen in Universal Collision. We have Steelbane there from the last night. We have Six Shot up behind. I like Six Shot. I'm a big fan of that. If we come over here, we have, really it's Protoform Optimus Prime, but it was retconned as actually being Prima. So he would go included as Prima as part of my original 13. Then we have Ultra Magnus over here. It is the Combiner Wars one. He has an add-on kit that gives him a new chest. It gives him the cab that turns into the white robot. This is the KBB version, but it's based on the Perfect Effect version, of course. In behind we have, of course, Cybertron itself. If you've been following Universal Collision, then you know that Cybertron is currently, well, Primus is currently trapped in limbo, that void of nothingness, and something else is in space. A different planet is in space where Cybertron should be. And I think that's it for that shelf. I think that's about it for that shelf. The next one is the one next to it, which is that one. The one where you see Star Convoy. And this shelf leads us into some of the big boys. It's another mix of Autobots and Decepticons. It's a mix of some lines here, as a matter of fact, because if we start way over on the far end, as we usually do, we have Warrior Class Bisque. He's a deluxe. I thought that he was brilliant. A lobster that turns into a cool orange car. Love it. I think he's great. I'm a big fan. Then we have Thunderhoof next to him. Everybody went crazy for Thunderhoof and said, he's excellent. I don't know. I'm just waiting for things to break on him. I've never been a fan of Thunderhoof. We have Steeljaw down front. He has a bunch of custom work done on him. Kind of a fan of the character. Sort of dig the fact that he was, you know, like a robotic wolf. I really like it. We have Ramjet there. We're going to talk about Ramjet in a few minutes with the other Coneheads, but we have Ramjet there. It's one of the very few copies of that Classics mold that I have. Never a huge fan of it. It looks nice. It doesn't function that great. Decent transformation. Looks nice, but the articulation was pretty hindered in some ways on that mold. Behind we have, I think it was Legends. Star Convoy. I've wanted a Star Convoy for a long time, and honestly this size works well for me. I think it was a logical use of this mold. I liked it as Optimus just fine. However, when I had it as Optimus, and we saw it earlier, I don't have it, but it is here in the house, the ankles were fine on that one. He stood like a champ. This guy, he has weaker ankles. I had to do a fix on his chest, but I get the ankle issue now. I'm not surprised. It's Takara. I don't find that they generally do that great of a product. I find their tolerances are bad, man. Bad. I had to, like I said, I had to fix the chest. There's nothing I can do to fix the ankles. They're pinned. Next to him we have Black Shadow, or Sky Shadow if you will. I wasn't going to get that copy of the mold, and Starscream wife, again, thought the better of it and got it for me for my birthday a few years ago. I'm so glad she did, because it's actually my favorite use of the mold. Kind of just down from him we have Sad Nexus Prime. I blame Maximal 10 for giving me that just terrible combiner. I looked at it, I think in January. Worth going and checking out just to see how bad it is. The full thing, the full combiner, clocks in at $7.50 Canadian. We have Titans Return Sentinel Prime. I dig Sentinel Prime. I know a lot of people like the Fire Truck movie version. A lot of people wish that he was a card that was like a blue and a yellowy or blue and an orangey. I don't know. I'm fine with this, I guess. I have nothing against it. We have Fracture there. I think probably the strongest from the Robots in Disguise line. Love them. He was, I think he may have ranked number 5, maybe even higher, for like best of the year when he came out in 2016 maybe. Then we have Dirge and we have Thrust. Look, and I've said this before, I'm not a huge fan of the Earthrise mold because I don't think it's as good as the Siege, but I do think it's leaps and bounds better than the classics. So, while I'm probably not so impressed with its use for Starscream, Skywarp, and Thundercracker, I'm totally in for that mold if they redo it and redo it properly for these three guys. I'm still going to have certain issues with it. Like, I don't like the chest and the way the tabs work on that. I prefer these chests better, but we'll see how it plays out. We have Whirl here. Voyager class Whirl. Did not get him until after the fact. Got him thrifting for $2. He was, when I saw him, I was like, you know what? He doesn't have his bits and pieces with him, but man, I cannot argue getting Whirl at all for $2. He was intact, and that's all that really mattered to me. We have Overlord there, one of the main baddies in Universal Collision. Now, I do have 2 Titan Masters put in his chest that I plan to actually paint to be, you know, like Giga and, what is it, Mega? And I think it's if I'm not mistaken, I think one was Prima that might have come with, I don't know, Repugnus maybe. I don't remember who Prima came with now. But one is Prima. The other is, I think, one of the versions of Megatronus, the little Titan Master Megatronus. So I think I'm going to paint those. I haven't done it yet. We'll see. Then we have, if we just move over a little bit, then we have big powered, of course, Atlas behind there. Again, I like the mold. The way that they remolded the chest and the shoulders is a bit unfortunate because his shoulders are the most limited of anybody. The best shoulders, by the way, are Sky Shadows, but I like the look of Atlas, but he is not the strongest use of that mold. I'm just going to say it. Then we have Roadfire. Again, the weakest use of that mold. It's an excellent mold. But his waist, my waist tabs in okay, but some people's waists don't tab in at all. One of my knees doesn't really tab in. I like Top Spin and Twin Twist way better. I like the look of this guy way better. And then finally, using the mold that was used for the Titans Return Decepticon Target Masters. Specifically, I think this one plays off of, I want to say Aimless. That's what I want to say. Aimless and Misfire. I want to say Aimless and Misfire's version of that mold is what this plays off of, I think, with new legs. But straight out of package, the legs pretty much just fell off the ball joints now. A lot of people would say, hey, use the floor polish fix to fix them. And that's an awesome, awesome way of doing it. But it does wear off over time. It's great if you're just going to display them. I use these guys, or I haven't yet, but I plan to use these guys for stop motion, and I wanted his legs to be more functional. So what I did was I actually built up the ball pegs with some Bondic, and then I also put a couple of sprays of clear coat over the Bondic and over the ball joint to build it up a bit, put the legs back on, and now they are tight and solid. But like, I shouldn't have had to do that for something that you pay an import premium for, you know, but I'm glad to have the trio anyway, because they, while functionally I think they have a few issues, looking at them, honestly, I have no problem saying that Big Powered and Star Convoy are the offerings in this smattering here that look the best. Now, just so we know exactly where we stand, we're doing the third shelf over on the end there. You can see which one is empty. That's what's down on the floor. But before we go down there, the shelf where you see Nova Prime and Cyclonus, for example, there were, and I apologize because I did miss this for anybody out there that's been yelling at the camera ever since, there are 2 Minicons there. One is Grindor, the skateboard dude, and the other is, I think it's Highwire, who turns into a bicycle. Looks like a bicycle. I'm not big on Minicons. I don't know a lot about it. They came with my Armada Unicron. When I bought Armada Unicron, he came with like 2 or 3 Minicons, and I had to search up who they were because I honestly didn't know. But more to the point, as we come down here now, you can see we have the Transformers Prime Legion class Beast Hunters, Predacons that make up the tiny Abominus. I like to think of them as like a different Abominus than the one that we know from the Decepticons. Next to him we have the 2008 universe coloration of Vector Prime. I like that Vector Prime, and he does have Safeguard on his arm. He's a hard one to get. He doesn't have the annoying lights and sound. I'm not a lights and sound guy. I'm cool with this, but he was complete, and Starscream Wife got him for me as well. Big fan, and he comes from a time when Voyager was big, hefty, really good. He misses a bicep swivel, which is too bad, but besides that, he's pretty fantastic. They'd be hard pressed to improve on him. I do this mold again with a bicep, and I think you pretty much knocked it out of the ballpark. We have Laserback down front, who is kind of conniving, and he's sort of like a second in command, apparently, to Predacon, so take that for what you will. I sort of see Laserback as like the Starscream of the Predacons. We have Quick Switch, who is the son of Six Shot, apparently. Don't ask, I don't know. We have Predacon member Ripclaw. She is a weird dragon thing with a very rubbery tail, but honestly it works well as like a third stabilizing leg to get her to stand. She's interesting, I like her. We have the Target exclusive Skylynx. Starscream Wife got him for me as well. And funny enough, we happened to have Target here in Canada when this was out, so we actually got it. And kind of way back from him we have Darksteel, who is also a Target exclusive, and I got both of these guys from there. We have Grimwing, who is the other use of the Darksteel mold. Oddly, Darksteel and Skylynx don't look like really what they look like in the Predacons Rising movie, but whatever, I'm cool with it, I don't care. As we move along, we have Vertebrake. I think it's Vertebrake, not Vertebreaker, but I could be wrong about that. Same use as Laserback. I got a lot of these guys for like $5. They were on sale at the time. It was great. It was such a good time to be a fan. Then we have the version 2 Voyager of Predacon. So we actually have two Predacons here. This one and the Ultimate Predacon. I like this one, but I'm not going to pretend that the Ultimate Predacon isn't fantastic, because it is. Next to Predacon, we have another Voyager, that being Skybite. Happy to have him. A bit of a bear to transform. His articulation robot mode is pretty good, but I don't know. I don't think he'll ever see shark mode again. We have my highly customized Beast Wars Scorponok. Love this guy. Love this coloration. It was a ton, and I mean a ton of work to do, but so rewarding in the end. If we move along just a little bit more, we have Quick Strike, who is small, but man, he's fantastic. Now, I've heard that the ball joints that make up his tail section get loose over time. Mine haven't, not yet, not to say that they won't, but I really like him. He's a fun character. He's a fun offering in the Beast Wars line, as quirky and weird as these Fusors were, and I'm pretty sure he was a Fusor. And of course, behind him we have Generations Rhinox. He needed stronger hips. You give him stronger hips, he's a pretty solid offering. Great looking Rhino mode, excellent looking robot mode. He just needed to have stronger hips, whether you had included ratchets or you had just made the pin in there a little tighter or what. It's just the hips could be a little bit stronger. That's it for that shelf. We're starting to get through them a little quicker now. When we come back, we're going to have another version of Predacon, a completely different version of Predacon. And here we are again, and I get it, man. This is a bit of a weird set of shelves this time, because we had everything from Primus, which I think every collector at some point in their life should have. We had my custom Violent Jiger, who I'm happy how he turned out. I'm also glad that if it really came down to it, I could undo what's been done to him. I don't see me ever doing that, but I could do that. I'm very, very happy to have both Big Powered, even though I did have to do extra work with him to get him functional, and Star Convoy, who again I had to do extra work with. Generally, you guys know I'm pretty iffy on Takara, at least their tolerances. Luckily, I've been able to make these guys suitable for my needs and my tastes. But the best use, bar none, of the mold that's used for Diatlas has to be Black Shadow or Sky Shadow, whichever name you prefer. I like Black Shadow. Moving over, I'm very glad that I was able to kind of amass a small third faction. Like, I like the idea of it not just being the Autobots and Decepticons, good guys, bad guys, but kind of making the waters just a little bit murky with a third faction that kind of have their own motives. It's too bad that we didn't get more personality of, shown off of them in the third season of Transformers Prime or the Predacons Rising film, but nevertheless, I'm glad to have the characters and that third faction. Finally, a couple of Beast Wars. How can you not love a few Beast Wars? I absolutely adore that Scorponok. I was very iffy on how he was going to turn out, but I'm so glad to be able to say that he turned out splendidly. That being said, I kind of topped things off there by saying that the next time we're going to have another complete different version of Predacon. We've seen the Transformers Prime version, so you can sort of think about which version of Predacon might be up and coming next and which shelf might be up and coming next. Honestly, we've reached the point where the actual shelves that you see behind me now are the ones we're getting ready to delve into. And naturally, the Predacon to whom I'm making reference is this lad right here, behind my left shoulder. And we're going to see everything else that's on that shelf, and that's a bit of a quirky one, believe it or not. Anyway, that's it for this one. Let me know what you think about this part, and what items we share in common, and what characters representations you like best for the ones that we've looked at so far. Third party? Masterpiece? Who knows? Let me know what you think about part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. You know I love to hear from you guys. I appreciate you coming by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, there is a donate link down in the description. If you haven't done so already, please, man, hit that subscribe button. Stick around, have some fun with us here. Don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single day, you do make a difference. And I look forward, man, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way, right here, inside the videos.